Hello, everybody. Welcome to day 2 of the little holiday special. We're going to be going over a couple cool things in this webinar series. Yesterday, we touched a little bit on the custom pricing formulas for different categories within your business. Um, Today, we're going to be focusing on the remote payments or the remote invoices. The cool thing with this is obviously, we'll go through exactly what it is in detail, but as most of you know, or if you don't know, now you do, Leap has secure payment capture built into it. So as you're going through your digital contracts, and one of the most important things you guys can do as a business is obviously CYA. And if I need to explain the acronym, I really probably shouldn't. It's not something in church that could be done, but again, cover your ass, you guys. Like, compliance is a massive issue. It's something that is becoming more and more of a hot topic with customers. Secure payment capture with us allows you to be level 1 PCI compliant, which level 1 PCI compliance, if you're unfamiliar with that, it's the requirement if you were processing like 25 million plus in payments and credit cards annually. So this allows you to do that basically overnight by securely capturing credit cards while you're in the field, as well as just being able to securely store that payment detail in a compliant manner. So again, we'll go through a little bit more of that. There's a slide dedicated to that in this section today. But the other thing that doesn't solve for is, what if you're not in the house? How do you get a hold of that credit card information if you're not sitting at the kitchen table with it? So this is a new feature that we built in. We'll obviously be unpacking it in detail, but something that we're incredibly excited about. The caveat to this is you have to be using secure payment capture because obviously it's tied with your processors. So again, we'll take a look at this in detail, but it's one of the more exciting ones of the bunch that we're looking at. It's also so unbelievably easy to set up. This is literally a click of a button. So we're going to dive in today. We're going to be focusing on that. I'm here today with Michelle, our marketing manager. First thing we do on every single one of the webinars typically is we want to understand who is using Leap, who is not. Michelle's going to drop a poll in really quick. Just do us a favor, answer that. The faster you answer the question, the faster we move on. So we're going to keep this one short and sweet today because it's actually very simple to conceptualize. Do us a favor, fill this thing out, let us know who's doing what, and we will get cracking on this. We've got like 70% of people responded right now. Keep it rocking. Get it up to 100. It's Christmas. I would love that. 14% more. Come on, guys. If you're listening to me in the background, literally just click yes or no. Okay, we'll hold it open for 3 more seconds. 2, 1, boom, onward. So thank you guys for filling that out real quick. Let's get this thing cracking. So next slide. 2 things we're going to do, pretty self-explanatory. We'll tell you what it is, and then we'll open it up for Q&A. In the right-hand side of your screen, you should all have that GoToWebinar control panel. There's a section in there that's called questions. That is where I'm going to be looking to answer questions. So if you have any questions, drop them in there. Jonathan Moore, you're beating everybody to the punch, man. We'll get to these things in a second, and we'll go through all these details. So with that said, you guys, this is directly applicable to both Leap and to ProCell. If any of the Owens Corning users are on this conversation, it works in both systems. So just as an FYI, if you're using Leap or if you're using ProCell through Owens Corning, it works for both. So we'll get cracking on this. Jonathan, I promise I'll get to your question in just a second because there's a slide that covers it. So next thing is today, again, we're going to be talking about the remote payment capture. Thank you for all the emojis. I love it. All right, keep rocking. So the remote payment capture today, this is what we're going to be looking at. So first and foremost, let's talk about what exists. All right, so secure payment capture is a feature within Leap that if you can look on your screen, you can see in there under the form of payment, it says credit cards, the one we're going to be using. You'll see it's a bunch of X'd out numbers with the last 4 of that credit card showing. PCI compliance means that you need to maintain the integrity of that customer's personal credit information. So if you start looking at any one of the numbers that you guys are capturing day in and day out on your contracts, it's a lot of really important data. You're talking about their name, address, phone. Now you're talking about incorporating credit card and potentially ACH or bank account information directly on the same form. If that gets in the hand of somebody who happens to be a bit of an a-hole, guess what? Unfortunately, they can do a lot of damage with that. So when looking at that, we have to understand that you guys, at the end of the day, are ultimately liable for what your reps do in the home. The best thing that you can possibly do is lock down your compliance by making it super easy to capture payments in the field, and also making it very easy for your staff back at the office to process said payments. So when somebody signs a contract and gives you their credit card or gives you their ACH, cool. I don't need to get that every time I process a payment. In Leap, using secure payment capture, we can literally integrate with well north of 100 plus different gateways and payment processors. So it doesn't require you to switch processors to use it. If you want to, we have partnerships with companies like WorldPay, who frankly every single person that we've referred to WorldPay ends up paying less in processing fees. So WorldPay folks, if you're on the call, shout out to you guys. You guys are awesome as a partner. Back to secure payment capture, you guys. This feature allows you to capture whatever payment details you need to in the field. The second you capture those, it encrypts that number. And two, it creates a payment token. And that payment token, as you can see on bullet point number 4, stores that payment token on a level 1 PCI compliant server. That way, if your home office needs to charge that credit card 3 times throughout the installation process for your deposit, your materials, and then any balance upon completion, they can do that, and I never have to go back to that homeowner and be like, hey, Steve, can you give me your credit card again? Or, hey, can I get another check? I'll send the rep by the house to pick it up. There's a lot more efficient and effective things that your company can be doing, like running other leads. So again, this allows you to just click charge on the back end, and boom, you can process that payment. Jonathan, to answer your question, you asked, does secure payment capture cost me money? Yes, it does. It's an add-on. It's $150 a month. And that doesn't matter if you have 1 or 1,000 sales reps. It's just a flat fee of $150 a month. It's a pass-through that we get from those gateways and those payment processors. We don't do anything with that fee. It's literally just a pass-through. The other side of it too is we also have to pay a storage fee of $2 per payment. So again, or per payment capture or per token, so to speak. So if I capture someone's credit card, I'll give you an example of this. If I capture this customer that you can see on the screen, I take their credit card down, it's on their application, that token is created, it's stored on a PCI compliant server. It's a one-time fee of $2. You can process that card thousands of times if you need to, but it's a $2 fee one time per payment capture method. If you capture 4 payment methods, $2 times 4. That's it. So again, it's $150 a month, excuse me, $150 a month plus $2 every time you store a payment method. Any questions on that before we move on? Nope. Great. Again, if you're not using this, you're not doing something like this. And the major questions to ask yourself, you guys, is do my staff members call in payments? If they do, you're not compliant. If they write that down on the contract, you're not only out of compliance, you're also incredibly risky because that's the easiest way to steal someone's identity. And then 3, if any of your reps are carrying any of that payment method or have access to even seeing the card number, you're not in compliance. If you have a card swiper in the field, great. You're also subject to whether or not you have connectivity. This system works on and offline. So again, just as a note to self, if you're not using it and you use Leap, you seriously should reconsider. Happy to give you guys a demo of this. Next slide. Sweet. So what's new? The other thing you have to ask yourself the question of is, great, I'm not in the home, what do I do? Or, hey, that person, and this is honestly where it stems from, is what if that person wants to update their payment method? Hey, that credit card, someone actually stole my credit card, I got a new one. Okay, cool, let's update it. Unless I'm having that person dial in and physically read off their card while on the phone with me, you're technically out of compliance. So there's obviously some little caveats to that, like if you have a secure line, plus it's recorded and backed up and all sorts of other crazy asinine things. If you're not doing all of that, you're out of compliance. The good thing is you can now, through Leap, send this remote payment request. As you can see on here, it's very simple. It's I have a customer's profile within my dashboard in Leap because they submitted their credit or their payment details before, or they signed a contract, whatever it might be. On the top right-hand corner, you can see that there's there's two buttons you can see. Number one, it's kind of grayed out in the background. That would be the main button to initiate this pop-up. Yeah, you can see Michelle hovering her mouse over it as we speak. What that does is it prompts this pop-up. You can fill out all the information that you need to say, all right, it's going to be from, it could be payments at NorCal Home Remodeling, or it could be, shout out Jonathan, and then you obviously are going to send it to, it'll pull up that customer's email. You can put a custom message in it. You can write the description of whatever the transaction is, the amount, etc. When you hit that green secure payment request, it's going to blast out that email. So let's go to the next slide and we'll show you what that looks like. So when you send that, this is what that customer is going to see. Again, I think, yeah, we'll just keep going. I kind of already talked through this one, my bad. The next one, this is what they're going to get. Obviously, this would be branded to your organization. So instead of it saying Leap, it would say, it would have your logo housed on the top of it, and this would all be skinned to look like what you need. Again, what this is going to do is you can see it's a time-stamped, very time-sensitive link. So it's not just going to sit out there in the ether forever. It will expire. When they commit, or when they say submit a payment, you're going to go back in and it's going to allow you to pop up and see exactly what you need to do. So if they click on that button, let's go to the next slide and it'll show you exactly what's going to happen. This is what's going to pop up. They have two options. In the top right, it tells you exactly what you owe. In this case, it's the demo company, quote unquote. In the top left, that would be your logo. You can have whatever message or any of the notes that you want in there. They have two options, as you can see. Number one, they can pay with a credit card. That's the form that we filled out here. Feel free to take that credit card and try and run it on things. It probably won't work. But the long and the short of it is they can submit that payment detail using a credit card. Or on the right-hand side, it's grayed out right now, but it says pay with bank account. That's where they can actually do an ACH payment. So you can do both, check and you can do credit card. So again, you don't have to send a rep back out to that house to get the updated payment info. You don't have to have that person calling in and put you out of compliance. You sure as hell don't have to wait for that customer to just do it on their own merit. You can send them this proactive request, boom, they can fill out their details and hit submit. When they hit submit, let's see what happens. Go to the next slide. This is what comes up. They're going to get a success message. It'll tell you whether or not the payment went through or not. All right. If it didn't go through, it'll obviously say, hey, payment unsuccessful. Please update your info. In this case, it'll give you that thank you message. Hey, we're so thankful for your business. You're awesome. High fives. Yay. Thanks for money. From there, the next slide, you actually get a notification on your end saying, hey, FYI, the payment was received. They finished what they needed to do. Thank you, Josh Adams, for being an upstanding customer and not a deadbeat. And at the same time, the other thing that's really nice is that token has been created and the payment method that they used has been stored. So the beautiful thing is, let's just say you might have to go back in and, let's say that was for their deposit and there's two other payments that they would be making when you ordered materials and upon final completion. You can go back to the same payment token and you can say, hey, do you want to pay with the balance? Or do you want to pay the balance on that, the same card or the same account that you paid last time? And they go, yeah, sure. Okay, cool. Click, done, charged. You don't have to send another one of these. You've already stored and saved that payment method. So again, this just allows you to do it all remotely. You don't have to send somebody to their home. You don't have to break compliance. It allows you to maintain every bit of your own internal security while at the same time getting the details that you need from a customer. You also get the understanding of whether or not they didn't complete it in that window. And that link will give you a notification saying, hey, guess what? This expired. You need to hunt this thing down. So next slide. I promise you we'll get in. There's a couple questions in there right now. I promise we'll get to those in a second. Let's talk really quickly about how you get started, and then we'll open up the Q&A portal. So number one, you have to use our secure payment capture in order to use this feature. All right. There really is no downside to using the secure payment capture. Typically, what we find is if you're already using a payment processor that integrates, it's literally doing nothing other than giving your team the tools in the field to get this thing done when they have it signed or when they have that contract signed. Literally, you're arming them with the tools they need to be successful. You don't have to deal with whether or not the card swiper is active, whether you have connectivity, whether the thing is charged if you're using a terminal. Any of that BS doesn't matter because you now have that directly built into Leap. They can do it all in one tool rather than having to juggle several. Literally, there's hardly any downside, if any, that we've ever seen from this. If you're using a non-integrated lender, that's okay. We've got recommendations for payment processors like WorldPay. Again, every single person that we've referred to them thus far has ended up paying less. So again, if you don't use somebody that's integrated with secure payment capture, we have options for you that are potentially better than what you're doing already. And then lastly, if you guys are not compliant, there are so many articles out there, and if you call bullshit on this, by all means, go look into Forbes or Harvard Business Review or Tech Forward, Wall Street Journal. Every single issue that they put out has some article relative to compliance because it's becoming more and more of a hot topic, and it's one of these where they're going to start building penalties and regulations into compliance that, again, if you're operating outside of it, they're gonna start slamming you with these things because it puts people's financial information at risk. So just as a note to self, if you're not doing it, do it. It's really a nominal fee, and typically, like I said, if you go with a company like WorldPay, most everybody has saved more than the, I guess, what is that, like 12 grand that you would be paying annually anyway. So do it. Next one, we'll open it up to Q&A. There's a couple in here, so I want to get cracking on this. Number one, Jonathan asked, do you need a card reader? No, Leap is your card reader. So the cool thing is when you're in Leap and you're in that payment capture section, there's 3 things that you can do. Actually, you can capture both credit cards and ACH. You can either manually type that into the secure payment portal, where it then encrypts the numbers so all you see are X's in the last 4. The other thing you can do, if you don't even want your reps typing it in, you can scan that card and it'll pull the numbers in. So, an iPad has a lens and is a camera at heart. It's in so facto through our portal, it is a scanner as well. So you do not need card readers. You can do everything directly through Leap. That way, again, you don't have to worry about losing a Square reader or losing the PayPal triangle or having to carry around a terminal that needs batteries and connectivity. None of that matters because it's all done in Leap. If you go into a home that's built like a bombshell, Jonathan, let's just say you're in San Francisco and you're in one of those old brownstones and you have terrible service in the basement or something like that, great. You can enter all their contact details directly into your contract in Leap. If it has no connectivity, that's fine. It'll store it all in a cache. The second you get back to connectivity, boom, it pushes that token directly to the level 1 PCI compliant server. And in the meantime, while it's sitting in cache or in that storage, basically the memory of the device, it's all securely stored. That rep cannot access it whatsoever. So note to self, long story short, you do not need a card reader. Next one. So Olivia asks, we use Leap for several store locations and each have a separate GreenSky ID. Is it possible to choose which account we are financing through? The thing I want to make note is this is not financing. So this is the payment processing. So this would be like your credit card or your ACH payments. The beauty of this is, let's just say you were paying with like the GreenSky credit card that customer has. They can access that all through a single payment portal, or if you do have multiple offices that have different payment methods, let's say you run each location as a separate entity, there are ways that we can work around that as well. So if you have specific questions on how that needs to be structured, and Olivia, in your case, I think we would probably want to ask you a couple more questions just to get the full understanding of exactly what your operations are. there are workarounds, and we can absolutely work with that, whether it is on the financing side or whether it is on the payment processing side. So just give us a shout, mention your question from this webinar, and we can 100% dive in. All right. Anthony, you asked the question, can I see a record of attempts to collect the payments? Every time you hit request, you will see that activity stored on that customer's file. So you'll basically see that you did request a payment and whether or not it was received. So those data logs 100% would be active in the dashboard in Leap. If you needed to, you can also theoretically push those directly to that customer's file in your CRM. It would be more of as an attachment though. So just as a note to self, yes, you can do that. The other thing is with your secure payment capture feature within Leap, the other beautiful thing about that is it's also something that can integrate with like a QuickBooks on the back end. So anytime you do those requests, you can also have a log of that activity and that request in your accounting systems. So just as a note to self. And that also answered your other question, Anthony. Can it flow into your accounting software like QuickBooks? The answer is yes, and many people do. Next, this one's from Andre. Can we choose to only accept credit cards, not the bank draft? And where do you change that within the app in Leap? Again, number one, you must be using secure payment capture. I need to ask on that first part of the question, which is, can you turn off the ACH? The one thing I will say to you is my recommendation or my question back, playing devil's advocate, is why would you want to? If somebody wants to pay with multiple methods, I would say it's probably better to not limit them than to limit them. But again, that's your business, your discretion. I would need to ask on the other side. I'll make a note of that, and we'll make sure to get you a response on that as soon as possible, and whether or not you can block it, etc. All right. The next is Jessica asks, can you post-date payments? I need to look into that. That's actually a really good question on whether you can post-date payments. I'll look into that one, and I'll also get your response on that. All right. Any other questions, you guys, as it pertains to this? Again, the number one thing to understand is if you want to use this feature, you absolutely must be using secure payment capture. If you need a demo or you need to fully understand how that works, by all means, reach out to us, info@leap2digital.com, or you can always go to our website and chat in. We're more than happy to set that up. It's very easy, or you can always go back to the individual that set you up on Leap, so your original account manager or your business development rep. Yesterday we had Nick on the call. Nick is a perfect example of somebody who is an account manager. So again, maybe if he set you up, you can go out to him and they can 100% give you a demo of what the feature is. Again, any questions beyond that? Anthony, I'll get you an answer to yours. Same thing with Andre and Jessica as well. So any other questions, feel free to reach out to us. It's info@leap2digital.com. This is a badass new feature that we're really excited about. We're always here if you need us. Again, if this is something that you already actively use, our secure payment capture, and you want to turn this on right away, super easy to do that. Just chat in. We'll get you set up in a couple clicks. If this is something that you want to actively get going, or you want to see if your payment processor is one we integrate with, chat in. Again, same story. We can 100% see. There's a very easy, quick way for us to see exactly whether or not your payment processor integrates. If they don't, we'll give you 100% of options on what to do next. We make the introductions with some of our partners. And literally, if someone decided tomorrow that they wanted to not only switch processors and get this thing activated, it could take you as little as a week to get going on this. Compliance is your friend. I can't say that enough. This is, again, this is webinar number 2 out of the holiday little preview of the new release highlights. So by all means, we're going to be doing this again tomorrow. The next one that we're going to be touching on is going to be attaching external documents to your contracts. going to be exciting with that as well. Again, that's another really cool feature that has a ton of, or it opens a ton of doors. So we're really pumped on that one too. Same time tomorrow, you guys. Thank you so much for being awesome. Any questions, feel free to reach out to us at info@leap2digital.com or go to our website, www.leap2digital.com. Chat in, ask questions. Our customer success team, they're rock stars. They can get you anything you need. Same on our end. So feel free. We're going to be sending out this on our YouTube channel as well. Subscribe to the channel, like the video if you need to. We'll be able to get you that. Jonathan, the recording on this will be put on our channel. You can access it anytime you want, or you have my cell phone. You can always just give me a call and I'll talk to you about it. Thanks again so much, you guys. Love each and every one of you. Happy holidays, and we'll see you tomorrow. Thanks, guys.